Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to another episode of the Supernatural Connection, where we discuss anything and everything dealing with the paranormal, whether it be aliens, alien abductions, witches and Wicca, energy workers such as Reiki, hypnosis, working with entities and deities, and much, much more, so that we may listen and talk about your experiences, so that we may inform others about what is going on in the world around them here on the Supernatural Connection. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the Supernatural Connection. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join another episode of the Supernatural Connection. My name is Gary, and I have been working with the metaphysical and the paranormal for over 50 years. I am a Reiki master and have worked with many different energies and spirits, and I also work with hypnosis. I consider myself an energy worker and healer. On tonight's episode, we're going to discuss Orgonite, and in my opinion, it was rediscovered in the 30s and 40s by Dr. William Reich when he had detected the existence of life's energy. And some of the current people in the metaphysical world these days say that Reiki is part of this life energy. Dr. William made large boxes he called orgon accumulators, and these were big enough for people to sit in. He was able to cure patients of various ailments and some cancers. And also by doing this, he was able to irritate the medical community at this time. In 1954, the FDA released a permanent injunction that prohibited the sale of Dr. Williams' orgon accumulator. In March of 1954, a judge ordered all parts. Instructions were to be destroyed. On August the 23rd, about 6 tons of Dr. Williams' books, journals, and papers were burned in an incinerator at that time. In March of 1957, Dr. Williams was arrested, and on November the 3rd, 1957, he was found dead in his cell. During this time, Dr. Williams was able to help many different people and seemed to have offended the medical field, and that's how the FDA got involved and ended up arresting him, destroying almost all of his works and equipment, putting him in jail where he did die. Also, Dr. Williams was able to produce a cloud buster. This was taking copper tubing, putting them in a bucket with some resin, and he had a formula for that, and was able to produce rain, especially during droughts. So there again, he was able to piss off some people in power back in the 50s. Over the years, many people have made Orgonite by using resin in different modes and different materials. Mainly it's like in layers. Orgonite or organic material and metallic material, something like that, and just do different levels. Also, one can make an accumulator that's big enough to sit in. Orgonite can be used for healing and to change the energy around the accumulator and your house. And some people have made these to put around power plants, nuclear reactors, and things of that nature. But one thing you got to be aware of when you do things like that and you go on restricted property, you can be and will be arrested, especially in these days and times. But the practical uses of the Orgonite is to help heal humans, animals, plants. The list goes on, and it can make a difference and make a difference in the environment. And of course, you can make many different sizes and shapes and use many different materials to make these. Of course, if you decide to make an orgon accumulator big enough to sit in, the cost is going to be higher. And of course, you got to have some kind of idea of how to build it. using the materials, cut and measure, and that sort of thing. What most folks do is they use resin and the different type of materials such as metallic shavings. Some use dirt, crystals, copper, just whatever you think would be right. But you got to make it in different layers. Organic material, metallic material, and things like that. That's how it seems to work the best. If you're going to make them, it takes about 2 days to make because you have to mix it all up, put it in your mold, and then you have to let your mold sit to harden up. So that takes time. And of course, if you have the ingredients all ready to add, it's like baking a cake. Have everything there and just go at it and have fun with it. Also, what you can do is make blankets and or clothes for Oregon accumulator. And by doing this, what I've done in the past is take like flannel, then add steel wool, another layer of flannel, another layer of steel wool, another layer of flannel, and another layer of steel wool. And I did that about 5 layers of each. And then I went ahead and stitched it up into a square. And I made it about a 2x2 part. And this is one for me to test and see if it's working. And also for the sewing machine to be able to sew it up. And I made those for animals to lay on. If you had like a sick cat, a sick dog or whatever, they would instinctively go to this and lay on it to help heal themselves. And also like if you had a leg injury, back injuries, a neck, it's small enough that you could put it on those affected areas to make a change. Now, when I was making the Oregon accumulators, I had ordered in some stainless steel molds. I also found different plastic molds from around the house, and then I would mix up my materials and put them in there. I used copper pennies, I used BBs, I used metal shavings. I also ordered metal filings and stuff that I could put in there, different levels. And I also put in crystals. I wrapped copper around the crystals and put in there. One, to make it look good, but also the primary objective is for it to work. Because if it doesn't work, all you got is a pretty paperweight. And this is not what this is for. This is for to help heal. To help heal you, to help heal others, to help heal the environment. This is what Orgonite is used for. And I will mention this, when I was making the resin Orgon, I went out and bought a respirator because the craft resin I use stinks. And it's not good for you to breathe, especially when you do it in your garage like I was doing. And it will go bang if you get flame next to it. So you got to take all those precautions into account if you decide to make them. But if you don't have the time, you don't want to fuss in making these products, of course, you can buy them online. You can get about anything online. But when you do, one thing you have to understand, there's a lot of them out there. And some of them are very, very beautiful, but don't work. So that's what I do is when I'm making them, I want it to work. I want it to make it look good, yes, to a degree. But the main thing is I want it to work. I want it to affect a positive change in whatever I'm making it for. I'm putting that intent into it as I make it. And that's my goal in making it. When you buy them online, their goal is to make money off of it. Hopefully their goal is to make ones that actually work. But let's be honest about there. A lot of those people out there are not doing that. All they're looking for is the money end of it. So if you're going to make your own molds and such with the resin, the craft resin, and if you buy a respirator, your cost on that is probably going to be, around $100 more or less, depending on what quality and how many you buy. If you're going to make the Oregon accumulators like a blanket, there again, your cost is going to be, well, how much material are you going to use? And then, can you sew? Do you have a sewing machine? Or are you going to do it by hand? If you're going to do it by hand, that's going to be tough and take longer. And there again, that'll be about $50 to $100 to get started on it. Just depends on how involved that you want to get into this. Also, one thing I learned, steel wool will catch on fire. That was an interesting event and taught me a good lesson. So please be careful with that. Now, some would say, well, how do you know it's working? Well, for me, I'm an energy worker. I feel energy. Sometimes I can see the energy, but mainly I feel it. I have a knowing of what's working and what's not working. And that's what I use when I make these products. But I also know a person who can see energy, different colors of energy. And they have been able to do this their entire life. So I'll have them look at it when I get finished with the product. And they say, well, the energy is 1 foot out, 2 foot out, 3 foot out, or it spirals up. And then I'll base that on what I was trying to accomplish. And usually it works out pretty good. But the main thing you got to understand, this energy is everywhere. You just got to tap into it. And I firmly believe that the ancients knew how to use this. And that technology, that knowledge was lost over time. And it gets rediscovered every now and then. And this has been rediscovered. Several universities have measured it. People who have used it can see the difference. Now, is it a end-all cure-all? No. Is it another tool to be used in the toolbox of healing? Yes, because not every tool can work on every person or animal or plant. It's just the way it works. One thing I've learned in doing energy work, not everybody can be healed. Not everybody wants to be healed, believe that or not, but it does. It happens. So you try to use as many tools in your toolbox that you can to effect the change that you're looking to effect. And orgone is a positive energy. Some say that when it accumulates the energy, the positive energy, it also can accumulate negative energy. It doesn't discriminate. All it knows is it's energy. I have not found that to be the case. The ones I have made and continue to make seem to only be doing positive energy. So that's just my take on it. That's my experiences on it. I've made, 15, 20 plus orgone resin, from pucks to little 2-inch diameter ones to tall pyramids that work out very, very well. I've made the blankets, the 2x2 blankets for different people for their animals, or for people to lay on, or to lay on their backs and such like that to effect a change. And that's what it's all about, to effect a positive change in the animal, the individual, the environment, the plant. That's, in my goal, is what it should always be about. Now, you'll have the naysayers out there and say, well, science does not back it up. Well, that's their choice. That's their reasoning. That's their thinking. But it's not mine. Mine is to present what I have actually done. In this case, I have made these Orgonite accumulators. Now, I have not made the big ones where people set in. I don't have the time. I don't have the space. And I just don't want to fool with something that big. That is not me. That will take somebody with a more skill level in carpentry and things of that nature to make it. That is not me. So that is why I choose not to do that. And of course, I work with the other energies and spirits to help people that way. And I did mention that there have been reports on the internet of people making these Orgonite little plucks, and they call them holy hand grenades, and going out on restricted sites to put them out there, and then they get arrested. Come on, people, don't do things like that. You know, in today's times, that would be a very bad thing. So use common sense when you're making it, because you have to be in an airy place to keep the fumes from overtaking you, or buy your respirator or something like that. Read the instructions and follow them. Please be safe, because you don't want to get hurt trying to make something to help people. That'd be bad. So just don't do that. And I also mentioned earlier that there's some folks out there saying that Reiki is part of the Orgonite energy. And it may be. I'm thinking this a little bit differently. Reiki is being used through the individual, manipulated by the individual to a degree. By that I mean being directed at a person or plant or energy or something like that, whether it be long distance or anything of that nature. And Orgonite is all around us, but you have to make, what I know about them, these Orgonite accumulators, to harness that energy and then direct it at whatever you want to affect the change into. So it's a little bit different, kind of the same, but a little bit different. The outcome's the same. They both heal. They both effect a change in the environment, in the individual, plant, animal, and so on. So I can see where they would go together. But please do your own research in this. I think you'll enjoy doing it. It does take time. It does take an investment. But if you get into it, I think you'll enjoy it. So there again, thank you for taking your time out to listen to this episode of the Supernatural Connection.